So guys, hello. Welcome to anyone who joined us since the last clip from the Teaching English ICT webinar or from anywhere else. Nice to have you along. So when I started this channel, the idea was to tell people about some of the ideas in my books, let people know what I was doing, and basically just have a way to reach people. Facebook wasn't working so well for me because of the algorithm. Even though I have a lot of friends on Facebook, not everybody sees everything all of the time. So that was the reason for starting up the channel. And it's working. I'm happy with it. But something else that's started happening a little bit is that some of you have been emailing me or messaging me or leaving comments about specific classroom problems and asking for advice on those. And to be honest, I love it. Troubleshooting, that sort of troubleshooting is something I really enjoy. So thanks for that, and please keep sending me scenario situations. I will try to get around to them as best I can. So this recording, this clip, is a specific response to a message from Maria Teresa Fernandez de Turi, who left a comment asking how I would try to reach individuals or to connect with individuals in a large class of 50. So I'm going to give you some ideas. This is my response. Now, to be honest, normally the maximum size classes that I've taught, large classes, have been 30. I have taught a class with 45 in it before, but 50 is slightly more than I normally deal with. But the techniques that I'm going to offer, I think, would work for a class of 50, even a larger class. My idea is this: not to try to do anything that we wouldn't normally do or radically change our teaching, just to use pockets of time in the lesson that aren't being used for anything else. So I'm going to suggest that we just take small moments in the class and we just make slightly better use of them. Now, it was clip number 9 in which I spoke about creating your class within a class. I think it's one of the most important clips on the channel. It's not one of the clips that's most watched, but if you haven't seen it, I would urge you to go back and watch that one. In it, I talk about just having another seat or 2 seats at the front of the class and inviting students regularly to come and talk with you. And this is going to form the basis of my response to Maria Teresa as well. So we have our class of 50. I'm assuming that in a lesson, let's say it's a 50-minute lesson or an hour lesson or even an hour and a half, I'm assuming that at some point in that lesson, your students are going to be doing some sort of exercise on their own with their heads down. I'm assuming that. I'm also assuming that during the lesson, at some point, you're going to be putting the students in pairs and asking them to do something with a partner. If it's basically a class or teaching that's running along communicative language teaching principles, even if it's not deep-end communicative language teaching. And finally, I'm assuming that at some point in the lesson, you're going to tell your students to pack up and that they can go. So my idea is this: we take those small pockets of time that are happening anyway and we just employ them slightly differently. Let's say we've given the class an exercise. Everybody has gone heads down. Normally, as a teacher, we fall into that kind of policing role, just looking, making sure that everybody's doing stuff. Yeah, head down, have you started? And we need to do that. We also, though, might find ourselves in dead time, where we're just sitting there thinking, okay, so what am I going to do now? So my advice, my first point is that the moment we ask them to do that exercise and the heads go down, we just ask one student, or preferably 2, if we can have 2 seats up at the front, 1, 2, come and do the exercise next to me. I've talked about this in one of the clips where I mentioned doing something important early on in the year, the importance of seeing our students, what they're writing in their books. But this is kind of different. We're going further. If two students come up and they do the exercise next to you, you can watch them. You can see how easy it is for them. You can see the ink rolling out of the end of their pen, or the graphite, transferring from the pencil lead to the paper. You can see their thought processes. You can say, okay, yeah, are you sure with that one? Yeah, can I help you? Is there anything else you need to explain? The others are doing the exercise. You've not had to create any special time. It's just these two are doing the exercise next to you. Now, let's say during the lesson you give your class exercises twice. So you can do that again at another point. Have two more students. We mark up who the students were on the register, so we know that those students have come and done something with us. Now, they've had more teacher attention. They've done something, we can talk to them, just check. Yeah, well done. Okay, maybe it's not an in-depth conversation for 10 minutes, but they've had a transition and the teacher has seen that those students have been able or not been able to tackle the material. So we're creating that connection. Now, 1 student out of 50 is 2%. If we've just done 4 students out of 50, that's 8%. I'm going to scribble that down. During the lesson, 8% of the class, maybe doesn't sound a lot, but 8% of them have done something with the teacher, and we've been able to look more closely at their exercises. Let's assume, again, going back to the pair work, let's assume there are several moments during the class where you ask them to do something with a partner. I hope, even if the desks are fixed, they can still talk to a partner, test a partner with something, ask questions to a partner, etc. So what we do, we've got our 2 chairs at the front. Teacher moves over, leaving 2 chairs next to each other. Everybody, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You 2 guys up here. They do the speaking activity in front with you, the teacher. Again, we're not creating any special time. They're still going to be talking in pairs, but the difference is 2 students are now speaking near the teacher, and you're able to listen more closely and give them maybe a few seconds of feedback. What did you do in the lesson? Oh, I went and spoke to a partner, in front of the teacher. The teacher was listening to me. This is reaching individuals. This is connection. This is personal attention, and they will feel that. Let's say we do that twice in a lesson with 4 students. That's another 8% of the class. We've now got 16% of the class that's done something in front of the teacher and had more teacher attention. It gets to the end of the class. 2 minutes before or 1 minute before the end, we say, okay, class, thank you very much. You may go. Except 1, 2, just come and talk to me for a second. Now, the first time this happens, the students may panic. Ooh, am I in trouble? It's like, no. These students come up and we just ask them, we say, okay, how did you feel on the grammar today? How did you feel it was going? Did you understand it all? How is your learning going in general? We ask them a question about their learning. 1 student, 2 students. It's going to take 30 seconds, a minute each maximum. It's going to take time for 50 people to leave a room anyway. That time otherwise is dead time. But we're getting 2 more students are getting that teacher time. A short moment where, the teacher asked me how I was doing. The teacher asked me if I was okay with the listening. The teacher asked me just to show them, the answers to the last exercise. The teacher asked me if I found the last homework okay. 2 students, that's 4%. That brings us up to 20%. 20% of a class, that's 1/5. That means that if we do that for 5 classes, and we've kept just every time we have a student talking to us, whether it's doing pair work or talking to us at the end or doing exercise in front of us, if we just put a dot next to their name and just work down systematically, that means after 5 classes, everybody has come and done something in front of the teacher and had a little bit of teacher time. If there are just 10 classes in a term, that means twice a term. If there are more classes than that, that's more often in a term. By the end of the year, that means they've been doing something in front of the teacher 6, 7, 8 times during the course. That's going to make them feel different. It's going to help you remember what their names are, what their learning profile is, who's struggling, who isn't. As I say, it's not a radical change to your teaching. We're just chipping away little by little and keeping that, building that connection with individuals. So I'm not trying to suggest anything that's going to mean radically changing your classes. Just small adjustments. When they would be doing stuff anyway, we get a couple of them to do that next to us. So they just get a little bit more teacher time and attention. That's how I would start to build that connection with individuals in a large class. Guys, strength and energy with your teaching.